Okay, so chances are you've played around with generative AI, right? Maybe you've engineered some prompts, generated some cool text, even put together a little demo, and that's awesome. But let's be real for a second. That's kind of the fun part, the easy part. The real challenge, and that's what we're diving into today, is how you get from that playground to production. How do you take that cool experiment and turn it into something that's scalable, reliable, and actually works in the real world? And that right there, that's the question. Your demo looks amazing, but is it a real product? That's the huge gap we're all trying to figure out how to cross. I mean, it's a massive leap from a proof of concept that works perfectly on your laptop to a truly robust application that can handle the chaos of the real world. And here's the key. Bridging that gap isn't just about writing cleaner code. No, it requires a totally different way of thinking, a fundamental shift in how we build these things. So, to build these incredible new apps, we can't just use the old rulebook. We need a completely new operational playbook. Now, if you've been in the machine learning space for a while, you've definitely heard of MLOps. But large language models, LLMs, they're a whole different animal. They're just different. And because of that, they need their own unique approach, their own paradigm. And that's what we're calling LLM ops. Okay, so what does this shift from MLOps to LLM ops actually look like? Well, you can think of it like this. On one side, you have the classic way of doing things, MLOps, and on the other, this brand new world of LLM ops. Yeah, the names sound pretty similar, but trust me, the approach, the tools, even the folks who are building these things, it's all completely different. All right, let's really dig into what's changed. In the old MLOps world, think about who was doing the work. It was a pretty exclusive club, right? Mostly specialized ML engineers and data scientists. But now, with LLM ops, the doors have been blown wide open. Suddenly, app developers are at the center of the action. And what we're building has changed too. We're not spending all our time building models from the ground up anymore. Instead, we're focusing on using these incredibly powerful pre-built models, almost like a service. We're orchestrating prompts, building chains and agents. It's a huge shift, really. It's like the democratization of AI development is happening right before our eyes. And this new way of working, it forces us to completely rethink what success even means. For so long in machine learning, the holy grail was accuracy. That was it. How accurate is the model? But with LLMs, they're so powerful and so complex, just asking, is it right? Well, it's just not going to cut it. Accuracy is still important, for sure, but now it's just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. So we need a whole new dashboard of metrics to know if our app is actually doing what we want it to do. Of course, you've got things like quality and similarity, but then you have to look at bias and toxicity. Basically, is it causing any harm? We also have to check for something called groundedness. In simple terms, is the AI's answer actually based on the information we provided, or is it just making things up? And then you've got the real-world stuff. How much does it cost? We measure that in tokens per request. And how fast is it? That's latency. All of these things matter now. Okay, so we've got this new mindset, we've got these new metrics. What does the actual journey of building one of these apps look like? Well, here's a hint. It's not a straight line from A to B. It's much more of a cycle, an iterative loop with clear stages you go through again and again. You can really break it down into three main stages. Stage one is all about ideation and exploration. This is where you start with a real business problem, you cook up a hypothesis, and you just experiment. You play with different models, you engineer some prompts, then you move into stage two, build and augment. This is where things get a bit more serious. You start using more advanced prompting techniques, maybe you fine-tune a model, or you use something called retrieval augmented generation. You'll hear it called RAG, which is a fancy way of saying you're letting the model tap into your own private data. And finally, stage three is when you operationalize it. You deploy it, you monitor it, you manage the cost. But look closely. This is a circle, not a one-way street. You're constantly looping back, taking what you learn from running the app to make the build better, or hey, maybe it even gives you a brand new idea to explore. But let's pause for a second, because this is so important. Underpinning this entire cycle, this whole process, is one simple truth. Before you write a single line of code, before you even think about a prompt, you have to ask yourself, what is the business reason for this to exist? What problem are we actually solving? Because honestly, all this amazing tech is just, well, it's useless if it's not solving a real problem for real people. And that idea of solving a problem leads us right to what is, I think, the most critical and definitely the trickiest part of this whole life cycle: evaluation. You've built something, now what? How do you figure out if it's actually any good? With LLMs, this is so much more of an art form than just running some unit tests. So what is LLM evaluation?
Well, it's basically the process of systematically testing and scoring the LLM's responses. See, you're not just checking for bugs in the code. You're becoming a judge, actively scoring the quality, the safety, and the reliability of what the AI is saying. And you have to do this. It's absolutely crucial if you want people to trust your app.
So what are we judging for? It really comes down to asking a few core questions. First, groundedness. Is the answer actually based on the documents we gave it? Second, harm. Is the response free of bias or toxicity? Is it safe? Third, relevance. Does the answer actually make sense for the question being asked? And finally, correctness. And this one's subtle. It's not just about whether the information is factually right, but is it presented correctly? I mean, the AI could grab the right number, but use it in a way that's completely misleading. That's a major failure. Okay, so how on earth do you put a number on something that feels so subjective? Well, a lot of the modern tools out there, like Azure's Prompt Flow, for example, keep it pretty simple. They use a grading scale, usually from 0 to 5. You just feed a bunch of questions into your system, and a human evaluator scores each response. 5 is perfect, 0 is not so good. And just like that, you have real data on how your AI is performing. It's how you measure whether your changes are actually making things better.
All right, this is all fantastic in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? Let's talk about the toolkit, the actual tools and resources you can go check out today to start your own journey into LLM ops.
So, if you want to get your hands dirty, a great place to start is Azure Prompt Flow. It's designed for building, testing, and evaluating these kinds of apps. If you want to see a full end-to-end example, go look for the Contoso Chat Sample app on Azure Samples. It puts this whole lifecycle into practice. And of course, if you really want to do a deep dive, Microsoft Learn is packed with resources. And you can always find some amazing talks from events like Microsoft Ignite and Build to get you inspired. And just like that, we're back where we started, but with a whole new perspective. We've made the journey from the playground to production. You now have the new playbook for this new era of AI. So it really all comes down to one final question for you. Now that you have the map, what business need, what real-world problem are you going to solve?